All right, let's jump right into this, because what we're tracking today isn't just your standard software update. We are literally watching a high-stakes tech thriller unfold in real time. I mean, imagine an AI model that can digest 30 entire novels in a single prompt. A model that actually pauses to think through complex problems just like a human would. This is the massive promise behind Google's heavily leaked Gemini 3.5 Pro. It's a potential game changer that could completely flip the AI industry on its head. So in this explainer, we're going to break down exactly what this beast can do, why it's been delayed for so long, and whether the reality is actually going to match this massive hype.
To get there, here's our roadmap for today. We'll look at the costly rebuild, then we'll check out that massive context window, move into deepthink and autonomy, and finally take a look at the tightening AI race.
So kicking things off with part 1, the costly rebuild, and exactly why on earth there's been such a delay.
If you look at the timeline here, you can kind of see where things started to go off the rails. Google first teased this flagship model way back in May 2026 at I.O., and they confidently said it would be ready by the very next month. But, June came and went, and that deadline was completely missed. Now, based on the latest leaks, the new launch target is July 17th. And considering today is July 12th, that means this highly anticipated drop is literally just days away. But it really begs the question, what exactly happened between May and July?
Well, when early enterprise testers got their hands on the initial build, the feedback was pretty brutal. The old architecture was apparently wasting way too many tokens on complex tasks, which made it painfully slow and just incredibly expensive to run at scale. So Google made a huge, honestly risky decision. Instead of just slapping a Band-Aid on it, they scrapped the whole thing and rebuilt the architecture completely from scratch for maximum efficiency. It's a massive gamble, but if the leak specs hold up, it might just pay off in a big way. Which brings us right to part 2, the massive context window. We're talking 2 million tokens.
2 million tokens. That is an unapologetically monstrous scale for a context window.
To put that sheer volume into perspective, Gemini 3.5 Pro's leaked capacity absolutely towers over the competition. It essentially doubles what any other major player offers right now. Whether we're talking about the latest versions of GPT or Claude, Google is just blowing past them on pure capacity.
But let's actually translate that technical jargon into some real-world value. Why does a 2 million token limit actually matter for you or your business? Well, it means in one single prompt, you could drop in roughly 1,500 pages of text. That's like uploading 30 whole novels at once, or, for the developers out there, an entire software codebase. Just imagine taking your company's entire documentation library, dumping it into the chat all at once, and having the AI flawlessly understand and reference all of it instantly. It completely changes how we interact with huge amounts of data.
All right, let's move into part 3, deepthink and autonomy, looking at these next-gen capabilities.
So this leaked deepthink mode is basically a system that mimics human problem solving. When you give it a really tough multi-step problem, it actually pauses. Step 1, it thinks internally. Step 2, it logic checks itself for errors, and only after doing that, in Step 3, does it finally give you the answer. It's totally prioritizing deep reasoning and accuracy over just sheer instant speed.
But there's always a catch, right? And this one comes with a rumored price tag of $250 a month. Yeah, this elite deepthink feature is supposedly going to be locked behind a very premium Ultra plan.
So what this does is create a very distinct, intentional dividing line. Free and regular users just aren't going to get access to this advanced reasoning system. Google is clearly positioning this top-tier capability exclusively for power users and enterprises who are willing to pay a hefty premium for human-like accuracy.
Alongside deepthink, the next big leaked feature is autonomous workflows. Reports suggest this model can basically act as an independent agent. We're talking about an AI that handles coding tasks, figures out how to use different digital tools completely on its own, and manages complex projects from start to finish with barely any human intervention. You essentially stop being a prompt engineer and become more of a manager, just handing off projects for the AI to execute by itself.
Finally, let's look at part 4, the tightening AI race, because the stakes are incredibly high right now. Now, before we get too carried away riding the hype train, we need to ground all of this in reality. Everything we've talked about today, the 2 million tokens, deepthink, the $250 price tag, it is all based on leaks and industry reports. Google has not officially confirmed pricing, benchmarks, or the final specs. So definitely treat that July 17th date as a strong possibility, but not a confirmed fact. And we really have to acknowledge the immense pressure Google is under here. Looking at the landscape neutrally, while Google has spent the last few months delaying and completely rebuilding their tech, their rivals absolutely haven't been waiting around. Competitors like GPT-5.6 and Grok 4.5 have already launched and are out in the wild. Plus, Google is dealing with a serious talent drain. They recently lost a top scientist to OpenAI and a literal Nobel Prize winner to Anthropic. So they're fighting a brutal, multi-front war right now on tech, timing, and talent.
Which actually makes me want to pause and ask you directly, reflecting on your own habits, which AI model do you honestly use the most in your day-to-day life right now? Is it Gemini, ChatGPT, or Claude? Your personal go-to really highlights exactly what Google is up against in this fiercely competitive space.
And that brings us perfectly to the core narrative of this whole explainer. When you look at the delays, the massive architectural rebuild, and these heavy-hitting leaked features, you realize this isn't just a standard software update for a new model. This is fundamentally about Google's legacy. It's their definitive chance to reclaim the absolute top spot in the very industry they helped create.
So we're left with the ultimate question. When the dust finally settles on July 17th, will Gemini 3.5 Pro actually have the firepower to beat out GPT and Claude? Or is it just going to end up being remembered as another delayed hype train? The entire tech world is holding its breath, and we'll have the answer very soon. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.